Goals. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's been in excess of 3,000 first-team games played by Chesterfield Football Club on this ground since it opened its doors for football in November 1871, when a 14-a-side match with Rotherham ended in a goalless draw. And last month, a 2-1 win over AFC Bournemouth was the final team action here for the first team. So let's toast the home of legends. To do that, let's hear from a man who's supported the Spirites, both man and boy, for most of the last 27 years. He's been a director and chairman. A larger-than-life character who certainly over the years has done his bit and his way to thank him for his contribution that has helped bring the club to this key pivotal moment. Please welcome to the stage the chairman of Chesterfield Football Club, Mr. Barry Hubbard.
I'm in your way, Tina. Sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, when you arrived tonight, you most likely saw a lot of cars outside. Well, I think they were the person I'm going to mention now. I think they're his friends. I think he's just brought them all over to celebrate his 65th birthday. So if this great orchestra here can sing happy birthday, could you please do this for David Priestnall of Waterworld, who is 65 today. So I reckon we should sing happy birthday to David. There is method in my madness, ladies and gentlemen. I've got 45 minutes, but now that's 5 gone, so we're now down to 40, which is great. Welcome to the farewell to Saltergate banquet. And as you most likely say, it has definitely been a long time coming. Most of you tonight will be able to remember your first visit to Saltergate, or the wreck, as we used to call it in my house. I first came here in 1946, when I was 8 years old. And I can honestly say I can't remember the score. I'm sure Phil Tooley will know what the score was when he came and who was offside and who wasn't, but I can't remember because I had 2 brothers and they're 13 and 14 years older than me. So when I was 8, I think they were about 21 and 22. And they tell me that they said to my mum, it's about time we took the lad down to Saltergate and support the town. Which they did. And I came. And it was the start of a long association with Chesterfield Football Club. To save you another 25 minutes, I'm going to jump to 1983. In 1983, I became chairman of this football club. Now, those of you who remember 1983 will know that finances weren't all that good. I mean, nothing's changed, but we got relegated. Now, that's not happened all that often, but twice more, well, once more than which has got promotion. And I think when I came in 1983, we got 4 players. And all the management staff had gone. Now, that was a bad move on my part, but I thought that that's what you had to do when you were chairman. You had to sack everybody. Now, I did that, and I do feel as though that was a big mistake. And Billy Dearden's here tonight, and I have said hello, Billy, but I did sack him as well. But I don't know why, but that's what he had to do. So we needed a management team. And Roy McFarlane rang me and said, there's a young lad who's just got the sack at Scunthorpe. I thought, oh, that's a good start. And he's now at Hartlepool. I thought, well, that is obviously good. And his name was John Duncan. And I had a pal called Kevin Randall, who I thought, well, perhaps together, it might be too expensive and they'll be able to help us on. Well, they did start. And I'm pretty sure that they became, I believe, the longest serving and perhaps the most successful management team ever at Saltergate. And I'm delighted that they're both here tonight. In their second season at Saltergate, we were promoted. But the excitement soon vanished when after the game we heard of the tragic fire at Bradford. This started the worst close season I have ever known at Saltergate. You may think all those steps in front of the stand are there for decoration. They're not. We had to put those there by the fire service. We had to build walls all around the stand, and it was really, really bad. In fact, it was so bad, I got the sack. But not for long, but I did get the sack, and so I was away for a bit. But although this caused major problems for the club, we all realised that safety for our supporters was paramount. Many years of ups and downs followed, which as usual we managed to overcome. So I now move on to 2010. And as we got nearer to the 8th of May, our last league game at Saltergate, more interest was shown from the radio, TV, and of course the national press. Under normal circumstances, they are conspicuous by their absence. But we were beginning to be what they call newsworthy. All the interviews I had to do were all similar. They obviously had done their homework and knew how long I'd been here. They didn't show much interest in 1946, but they seemed to want to know a little bit about my experiences since 1983. Have you ever given an interview and after answering a question you say to yourself, how stupid was that? Well, that happened to me. I was asked to give my favourite moments at Saltergate since I became chairman. So I reeled off the FA Cup semi-final at Old Trafford, our 2 visits to Wembley, and scoring 4 goals at Anfield, which I thought was great. That's when I thought, how stupid is that? None of these took place at Saltergate. But at least, without Saltergate, they couldn't have happened. I haven't got a very good memory, and I can't tell you whether we won, lost or drew. I know we won the last match of the season, I think. But I remember vividly the game against Nottingham Forest and Wrexham, both played at Saltergate, on our way to Old Trafford. I can't remember the games we played to get to Anfield, but definitely we must have won, else we wouldn't have got there. We certainly had many winning games at Saltergate before we had 2 visits to Wembley. So I suppose my stupid answers may not have been so stupid after all. I also remember the exciting nights we had in 2006 when we had a fantastic run in the League Cup, when we defeated Wolverhampton Wanderers, Manchester City, West Ham, and then unfortunately lost to Charlton on penalties. But as you know, football can kick you in the teeth. For the next match, after the thrilling Charlton game, we lost at Saltergate to Basingstoke. I'm not sure who Basingstoke were. To help us say farewell to Saltergate, we have 50 players, and their guests with us this evening. We have players who played, I've lost my place, at Saltergate in the 1950s, sorry about that, and every decade since. I've been fortunate in as much that I have seen every player who's here tonight play at Saltergate, and I thank them all for sharing this evening with us. Obviously, I cannot thank everyone by name who have been associated with this evening, but I must mention Alan Stevenson, our Director of Marketing, and Jim Brown from our commercial department, and all the staff at Saltergate. And I think it must be very difficult for my next door neighbour, Andrew Coghlan, and the staff at Coghlan Caterers to work under these circumstances, so I think they deserve a round of applause. On the 8th of May, nearly 8,000 people came to see the last football game at Saltergate, and what a reception they gave the old ground. Even though we had just missed out on promotion, the atmosphere was fantastic, and for us to score in the last dying seconds of the game made this most memorable day complete. May I now ask if you would charge your glasses and rise and join me in the toast when I get my glass. Hang on. The toast, ladies and gentlemen, is Saltergate, thanks for the memories.
Saltergate, thanks for the memories. And thanks for the memories, Barry Hubbard, Chairman of Chesterfield Football Club. Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we move on to the most special moment of this superb Saltergate sunset. Our Cavalcade of Legends. We've unfortunately had a few apologies from some of our greats. Mick Henderson and Mark Williams are unable to attend, and our 69-70 skipper John Archer is too ill to travel this evening, and he's absolutely gutted to miss out. Nevertheless, never ever before in Saltergate's 139-year history have so many of the men that have made so much of Chesterfield's history gathered here together at the same time.
This evening we'll be welcoming a whole host of heroes responsible for generations of entertainment here at this beloved ground of ours.
We'll be welcoming players who between them have played more than 10,000 games for Chesterfield. They've scored 1,200 goals, managed the team for more than 700 games, and given countless years of backroom service to the club. So without further ado, let's welcome the players who've given us so much joy, so many hours of conversation, so many memorable moments, and so much service and dedication to Chesterfield Football Club.
To start our Cavalcade of Legends, two goalkeepers who both won promotion with the Sparrites and went on to command big transfer fees and play top-flight football, as well as winning international recognition with England 20 under-23s and Scotland. They both returned to the club to give sterling service off the park and have been responsible for organising this fantastic event tonight. Welcome our first legends, who can boast a 69-70 promotion win and an 84-85 promotion win. They're now promoting our club to the wider community. Welcome Alan Stevenson and Jim Brown.
Now, two men who both scored on their Saltergate League debuts, and between them went on to score over 50 league goals for the Sparrites. A huge-hearted Chesterfield-born lad with a sense of humour to match, together with a flying winger with an eye for goal, Bob Newton and Dave Wilson.
Arkwright Town produced two men who became Saltergate stalwarts in the 1950s and the 1960s. One went on to become a long-serving trainer and coach, and the other sits proudly in the all-time top 10 list of appearance makers. Welcome, Jerry Clark and Jerry Sears.
Sides are built around a solid centre-back pairing, and Chesterfield's 84-85 Division 4 Championship winning side was no exception. This pair was ever present in that successful campaign, having a couple of years earlier helped Scunthorpe United to promotion as well. One went on to become a league referee, and the other joined the Derbyshire Constabulary. Welcome, Steve Baines and Les Hunter. Bainesy making a nice late entrance as usual. Maybe as late as your tackle, Steve.
Having a steady right back in your side is essential, and we have two of the finest with us this evening, both from Sheffield. Both became first pick in the number 2 shirts for their first league clubs, Sheffield United and Chesterfield. One, having tasted England under-23 honours and top-flight football, joined us in the twilight of his career. For the other, Saltergate was the base for his entire league career. Only 3 men have appeared for the club more times: Len Badger and Albert Holmes.
One man on his own now, and without doubt the highest achiever this club has ever produced. Only around 200 men in the history of football have won the ultimate prize in the game, the World Cup. This man made his first move into the professional game when former England international goalkeeper and then Chesterfield manager Teddy Davison plucked him from obscurity. An FA Youth Cup final was followed by 23 games for the club before a move to Leicester City and then on to Stoke. But it was at Wembley on the 30th of July 1966 that he's best remembered, because that was the day that England beat West Germany 4-2 to become champions of the world. 4 years later, he made arguably the best save ever to keep a Pele header out of the net in Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, Chesterfield's worldwide legend, Gordon Banks.
Themselves knew where the goals was, both managing a goal in every 3 games for the Sparrites. Having been an England youth player, one scored against Bobby Charlton's Manchester United in the FA Youth Cup final before carving out a great pro career, whilst the other was a prolific scorer from midfield, especially in the air, and scoring against Wickham with his last ever touch in a Chesterfield shirt. Please welcome Keith Haverhand and Lee Turnbull.
defenders in Chesterfield's superb 80-81 Anglo-Scottish Cup win. Both men weren't afraid to tackle and weren't afraid to battle. But perhaps Saltergate's strangest ever yellow cards came when one of these men was merely playing keepy-uppy in a cup game against Sheffield United, whilst the other escaped to booking after allegedly putting Sheffield Wednesday's Terry Curran in his place soon after our equalised at Hillsborough in a memorable 3-3 draw. The man targeted by Glasgow Rangers manager and the skipper who rolled his sleeves up to lead his troops in the best possible way, Colin Tart and Bill Green.
Two teammates from the 1960s who both became hugely popular with the Saltergate faithful. 6 years a regular as a midfielder, one man became known by his nickname Blodwyn, whilst the other, who arrived at Chesterfield soon after the tragic loss of striker Ralph Hunt, had an excellent scoring record and was superb in the air. With over 400 games for the club between them, Mick Hughes and Ivan Hollett.
Now a trio of men who all played in both legs of the Anglo-Scottish Cup final in 1981, and a trio of men who all carved their way into Saltergate history with loads of appearances and a bag full of memories. Who will ever forget the shuffle, or the superb winner to beat champions-elect Oldham in 1974, or the goal direct from a corner at Ibrox Park? Two men from the top 10 appearance list and one of the top 20 scorers, Sean O'Neill, Andy Kowalski and Phil Walker.
From the early days, Chesterfield had been noted as a breeding place for quality goalkeepers, and here we have two of the best. We welcome a promotion winner from 84-85 and the last man to play league football and first-class cricket, plus a man who was plucked from Saltergate to go and play for the mighty Magpies of Newcastle United, Chris Marples and Steve Hardwick.
Versatility has always been vital at Saltergate, and now we welcome two superb defenders who are equally adept at playing fullback or centre-back. A class act who won the 4th Division title in 1985 before a move to Wolves, and one of the successful 1995 Wembley winning side who went on to be awarded a testimonial for his service at the club. Gary Bellamy and Lee Rogers.
from scoring the most valuable goal ever at Saltergate when he outthought Wrexham defender Darren Brace to lift a shot over the keeper from just outside the box and ignited the blue touch paper that took Chesterfield into a stratosphere previously felt unreachable. Ladies and gentlemen, the man whose goal took us to the heights of an FA Cup semi-final, international exposure and a near fairy tale ending, Chris Beaumont.
Great partnerships come along every now and again, and manager Jim McGuigan brought together just one such pairing when he converted one of his new men from an attacking player to a defensive one in 1969 and linked him up at the heart of the back four with an unflappable player who had been a regular for 4 years at that point. The steady pair improved the side, giving it a toughness that laid down the platform for a memorable championship campaign. Welcome on stage Charlie Bell and Albert Phelan.
Three more giants from that 69-70 Division 4 title-winning side. A Welshman who'd been recognised by his county at schoolboy level, a lad from Heanor who'd been a regular at Workington before moving to Saltergate, and a midfielder from just up the road at Bramall Lane who was to become the magician of midfield. All three went on to make their mark on the history of the place in Jim McGuigan's finest hour that led to the club's first promotion in 35 years. Welcome, David Pugh, John Lumsden and Tom Fennerty.
As a cup team, it was normally letdown rather than legend for Chesterfield, but in 1996-97, all that changed. Bury, Scarborough, Bristol City, Bolton Wanderers, Nottingham Forest and Wrexham were disposed of before that memorable day out in Manchester. The memories of that campaign are still vivid for us all, and to bring some of those memories back, let's welcome two men who gave their all in their time at Saltergate and gave us all memories we'll take to the grave on that stunning day at Old Trafford. Welcome here to Saltergate's farewell, Tom Curtis and Paul Holland.
Goal to win games, and we now welcome two men who scored for fun in their Saltergate days. 3 times between them they passed the magical mark of 20 goals in a season, and they both became crowd favourites. One man hit the national headlines when he bagged a brace in a 4-4 draw at Anfield, and the other equalled an all-time club record by scoring in 8 consecutive games. They both are in the all-time top 20 scoring list, and they both still live in the town. Welcome tonight, Steve Norris and Dave Waller.
some sort of lure for many people. We now introduce two men whose playing careers at Chesterfield weren't too long. Indeed, they played only 82 league games between them for the first team. But since hanging up their boots, they both went on to give years of loyal service to the club as part of the backroom team. The current youth team manager, twice league champions in his tenure, and former number 2 to Arthur Cox and Frank Barlow, welcome Dave Bentley and Bill Dearden.
There's always something satisfying at being the first man to do something. Whoever manages to score the first goal at the B2Net Stadium will have his name in the history books forever. Well, the honour of scoring Chesterfield's first ever goal at Wembley Stadium goes to a man whose recruitment at Christmas '94 led to the Sparrites going on a club record run of 21 games without defeat. A great goal in a memorable win at Walsall made fans begin to think realistically of promotion, though the playoffs were all that came our way. A goal in that stunning 5-2 extra time playoff win over Mansfield Town helped us to Wembley, and an encounter with Bury, and our 2-0 win began with a goal from Tony Loma.
Who would have thought that the biggest transfer deal on deadline day 1980 would have involved Chesterfield as the buying club? But that was the case, and the Sparrites midfield, already containing the most effervescent winger seen at the old ground in modern times, began to look like a visionary unit. 79-80 and the following season saw possibly the best football ever played on this ground. The first half of a 3-0 win over Colchester United in September 1980. That performance coming just 3 days after a 6-2 win at Carlisle, and two of these men were fundamental in that setup. Those wins over Carlisle and Colchester came in the week that the Sparrites appointed a new manager, a man who played for the club, coached them and had been assistant. His time at the club being highlighted with the Anglo-Scottish Cup triumph. Three men: Phil Bonnyman, Alan Birch and Frank Barlow.
Only two men can ever say they've scored goals and have seen Chesterfield Football Club lead in an FA Cup semi-final. A tap-in followed by a hammered-in penalty put the Sparrites 2 up and within a sniff of the Wembley final. Never ever have so many Chesterfield fans felt so high after goals scored in normal time of any game. April the 13th, 1997 was a special day, so let's welcome two special men, Andy Morris and Sean Dyche.
The men who masterminded Chesterfield's route to the last four of the Cup are the two most successful men in the history of management of this football club. One came to the club after a top-level playing career and went on to manage the club in more games than anyone else, over 500 in the league, whilst his assistant in winning promotion in 1985, and again 10 years later, had also tasted Saltergate playing glory and is the fourth highest Chesterfield scorer of all time, and the only man ever to be associated with 3 Chesterfield promotions. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome John Duncan and Kevin Randall.
As we come towards the end of our Cavalcade of Legends, we welcome the man who scored more times for Chesterfield than anyone else. 162 league games came his way for the Sparrites. In 3 spells with his hometown team, he's won 2 promotions, the Anglo-Scottish Cup and a host of admirers. A man who had to work harder than anyone at the game, he went on to become the 2nd most appearing striker in the history of the Football League, second only to Frank Worthington. He's one of the few players in Saltergate's history that's instantly known by just his Christian name. Welcome, Mr. Moss, Ernie!
Final pairing on the Cavalcade of Legends can be summed up in one line. No players have played for Chesterfield more times in the club's history. They're the only 2 men ever to have passed the 500 league game mark for this club. One of these greats hit the world headlines with his last gasp FA Cup semi-final header, whilst the other can simply call himself by the name deserved for a man who's played 617 league games for this club, turning out on Saltergate alone an incredible 333 times in first team games. Not one of them as a substitute. He really is Mr. Chesterfield. Ladies and gentlemen, to end our Cavalcade of Legends, welcome 2 men responsible for 1,123 league games for Chesterfield, Jamie Hewitt and Dave Blakey.
In a fitting manner that bridges the gap between the old and the new, let's welcome to the gathering the last man to manage Chesterfield at Saltergate, and he'll be the first man to manage the club at the superb new B2Net Stadium. Welcome Chesterfield manager John Sheridan.
Between them, our legends have played more than 10,000 games, scored 1,200 goals, and managed the club 800 times. A unique gathering, the like of which we may never see again, and surely a fitting way to celebrate the end of an era at Saltergate. Ladies and gentlemen, our Cavalcade of Legends.